name is Omari Burton. I'm an economics advisor at Texas A&M and have decided to start my master's this year in educational psychology. And I've realized that there's a lot of creativity that goes into that. So it's been a fun and a challenge to, kind of tap back into creativity. I feel it's been a little, I guess, doled out going through, grade school and through college. So it's been good to kind of think about things in different ways. But I'm originally from Alabama. I graduated from Auburn University at Montgomery. That's it about me. I was looking through your LinkedIn profile a little bit, but could you tell me more about what you've been involved in?
Sure. I started out with great aspirations to be in broadcasting and worked in the media industry for a while. But I worked for a man who invited me to attend the Creative Problem Solving Institute, which is sponsored by the Creative Education Foundation based in Buffalo, New York at the State University of Buffalo. And I went to that conference and I felt like I had met the people that I'm supposed to know and work with, even though the media property I was working with at the time was a terrific one, really, really terrific, like one of my peak experiences. Nonetheless, I met this community of people who were really open-minded and open-hearted, and this notion of deliberate creativity was fantastic. So I started going back and forth to this conference every year, and I went through, they have a leadership program where you learn to understand the process, facilitate the process, the tools, team building, leadership skills, etc. And if you complete the whole cycle, you're invited to be a member of the faculty. And I did that and became a member of the faculty of the Creative Problem Solving Institute. And I was a member of the board for a while. And at some point I thought to myself, I was using creative process. I do a lot of work in the UK where they say creative process. So I always get a process. I was using it in my work, working with my teams that I was running, working with my clients. But at some point I thought, I just want to do this for a living. And because of some connections I had, I was able to put out a shingle and gradually move away from working in media and broadcasting to being a full-time facilitator. For the first probably 10 years of that time, maybe a little less, I was doing new product development, developing brand platforms, new products, doing strategic brainstorming sessions for companies. That was exciting and fun, but sometimes a little bit soulless because, you end up creating a new kind of caramel colored sugar water for a brand like Coca-Cola. And then I was able to encounter someone by the name of Andy Burnett, who was just about to start a company called Know Innovation. That's Know with a K, like we know something about innovation. And he was taking this creative process, the Osborne-Parnes creative process model, and applying it to researchers in the field of multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary science. And he invited me to be part of the team. And we eventually, sculpt the creative process model to work with science researchers. And I did that for a while. And then in about 2017, so that was probably in the early aughts, around 2005, 2006. In 2017, I decided, because of some other experiences that I'd had and people I'd met, that there was an interesting opportunity to work at the intersection of science and development. So science and economic development. And if you cross those two, you're really talking about sustainability.
Yes.
And so I started Inclusive Innovation as an initiative from Know Innovation and ultimately took it off and made it my own company. And we really do work at the intersection of science and economic and social development. We have a certain focus on the Global South and capacity strengthening in the Global South for using creative process. And I have 30 facilitators who work with me, independent contractors who work with me, and they're based in South and Latin America and the Caribbean, Africa, and Southeast Asia, and Australia.
That is wow. So I take it that you've traveled a lot and been to a lot of different places.
It is my drug of choice. And my superpower is I don't really suffer from jet lag. I'm pretty quick at adjusting to different time zones. So it certainly suits me to do that.
Wow, that seems like a lot. Well, that kind of goes into my next question of, when you're doing your different creative processes with different, you're working with different groups and different age groups, different just people around the world. What do you see as the biggest change per demographic or per group that you work with?
So I do a lot of work with early and mid-career professionals, science researchers, people working in the development space, and working for like development agencies, government agencies that are trying to support developing economies. What do I notice? What I notice is that everybody is in some way creative. But I think you probably heard this, we basically untaught their creativity by putting them through a school system. So maybe what I encounter again and again is this opportunity to surprise people with their own ingenuity. I think what we try to create is an experience where people go through our workshop or through our process, and at the end of it, they look back and they're surprised at what they were able to create. And that's, I think, something that across the board we've been able to do, no matter what the culture.
Awesome. So with creativity, I know creativity is a lot of things, but how would you define creativity when, just the most, I guess, basic, or not basic, but general answer of what creativity is to you?
To me, it's really about expressing yourself, and whether that means expressing yourself artistically or expressing yourself in terms of your capacity to generate an idea that solves a problem that needs to be solved. So it's, coming up with new and unique ways to express who you are, to express how you can fix and solve things, and to express how you can engage other people to do that with you.
Do you have a specific methodology that you use when going through the creative process, or is it kind of just, based on what's going on that you choose a different way versus another?
We have quite a large toolkit we use, but I would say that the creative problem solving process, the Osborne-Parnes foundational model, which of course has been reiterated a number of times because they deliberately didn't trademark it because they wanted it to be sent out into the world. And so all of us who are exposed to it have been able to make it our own, and always nodding ahead at Osborne-Parnes and donating to the Creative Education Foundation, by the way. That is probably the foundational of all the work we do, but it's such a flexible process that you can use pieces of it in different ways and apply it in different scenarios. So I think that's probably the core process I use. But I have a lot of, I understand design thinking, which is basically creative problem solving with an emphasis on user experience and human needs during the data collection phase. But I really appreciate when that kind of a focus is really important. I've also really appreciated, what's it called? It's AI, but it's not AI. It's affirmative inquiry, where you're asking questions about what's worked, and you continue to sort of focus people on the positive. And there are times when that's a really interesting way to get people to rethink that frame of reference for creativity. I have also worked with Synectics, which has some really nice qualities as well, some nice language and some nice sort of this notion of push the client away and then bring them back in so that they don't harbor the process. So there, I think there are good things in all of them, but CPS is probably my basic one.
Cool. So with creative thinking, obviously, as I work in.
Wait, I'm sorry. It's not affirmative. It's appreciative inquiry.
Appreciative inquiry. Okay.
Forgive me. I don't know why I always have a block on that. I think it's because of AI being used in a lot of different ways. Anyway, continue with your question.
That is true. Well, speaking of AI, how do you feel about AI and its, I guess, either contribution or detriment to creativity?
Well, it is that, isn't it? It really is both. I found that it is my assistant, and it can help me when I'm really needing to not spend time on something that gives me more time to spend on the creative part. I do worry if people will use it as their creative assistant and then cease to engage in their own creative muscle.
Yeah.
but I guess pros and cons of every technology.
That's true. I think it definitely has like it's risen a lot, like in like usability and just being a part of a lot of college students, just everyday process. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes with that and how far people take it, because there's always someone that takes it too far.
Right.
Let's see. Next question.
I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Oh no, it's fine. Have you ever worked with college students? And if so, what do you think about, how would you help them with their creative thinking process?
Let's see. I don't think I've done a lot of work with college students. I've done a lot of work with early and mid-career science researchers, but those are people in their 30s and 40s and even into their 50s. I'm on the board of an organization called Summer Stars Camp for the Performing Arts. It's a really phenomenal camp that teaches success through the performing arts. And it's based out of Massachusetts, and Black and brown kids from New York, New Jersey, Boston area. We pay for them to come. We give them this 10-day experience where they're putting on a show and learning about performing arts, but it's not about improving your ability to sing or dance or play instrument as much as it's about learning how to apply yourself and achieve success. And that's teenagers. So it's a little bit younger than college kids. And it's really interesting to deal with their own resistance to an adult opening the doors to creativity for them, and then their eventual opening to it. So I can't say that I've had a lot of experience working with particularly university-aged people.
Cool. Let's see what else I have here. Well, how would you go up?
I imagine it's not that much difference than working with anyone. If you want to help trigger and cultivate people's creativity, I think it works across the board, pretty much the same.
Well, that goes right into my next question about creating a creative work environment. So with coworkers as well, would you kind of go about the same process as you do any age group or any demographic?
Certainly with a different tone, depending on the language of the people that you're speaking with. Have you explored any of Mel Rhodes' theory of the 4 Ps?
I don't believe so.
You have to look forward to. So Mel Rhodes did a lot of research in the 1940s about what it takes to help people work together to solve problems creatively. And he came up with what he calls the 4 Ps. And he said basically, and they intersect. They all intersect, and there's an ikigai in the middle of it all, right? And so the first one is you have to have the right people in the room, the right people who care about the challenge or have some expertise to bear to it. Second of all, you need to have a problem that you're working on, some kind of an objective that's bringing people together, some outcome that you're trying to create. So people, problem. Then he says you need a process. If you just throw people in a room and say, okay, go, you're going to waste a lot of time, and there's going to be a lot of debate and discipline and difficulty. But if you can take people through a process to produce this result, you're going to be more effective. But all of that needs to be surrounded in a box by something he called press. And press is the environment. What are you creating around these other Ps that's going to support the people collaborating together constructively using the process to solve that problem? And the press involves physical and emotional safety, the environment that allows you to feel safe taking intellectual risks, a place that's inducive to thinking and imagining, so it's the environment itself is a pleasant one to be in, let alone that what you've done to create trust between people so that they will take risks. So a lot of what you need to do, I think, in any scenario, whether I'm working with the kids at summer camp or these researchers or businessmen, in their 50s, is how do we create ground rules about how we will work together, how we make sure that the people who are there want to be there and can contribute something, that we have a reason to be there, and that we have a process to use. And recently, I've been working with Izzy Mamnoon, who is one of my colleagues and also a graduate of the Buffalo Studies program. And we're adding a 5th P called purpose. And it's especially important when you're working with stakeholders from different communities, which is to go, not only do we have an output that we're trying to do, but what is the purpose? What is our common purpose? So I think, going into any situation, whether it's, just one little workshop that I have to run or how I run my company with my team, I'm always checking in on those P's. Am I taking care of the people? Do I have the right people present? Are we sticking to our process? Is our process appropriate? What are we trying to do here? What is our common purpose? And am I creating an environment where people feel open-minded, open-hearted, safe, willing to risk, inspired, but also where when there's conflict, there's a place to deal with it, Look up Mel Rhodes, though. That's sort of a fundamental.
Is it MELROH?
Mel is his first name, and Rhodes, RHODES.
Okay, I have it.
You'll see it in probably any paper about creativity, any research paper hits the core.
I think I'll definitely benefit from looking at that. So a little information more information about me. I'm wanting to work in student affairs, whether that's at Texas A&M, just at a university. And I've encountered just from my undergraduate experience being a student worker and really been around just student organizations on the staff side and on the student side. And I've just seen a lot of stagnation with creating new ways to go about things. It's it's been this way for this long, so we're just going to keep doing it this way, even if it's inefficient. So I think that's what kind of drove me to be interested in more creativity classes is how can I facilitate more, meaningful conversations when it comes to making changes at, not even university level, but just for students. So I think looking into that will definitely benefit me there to get more information on how to go about that and how to be or facilitate those, like you said, people that are wanting to be there, having a purpose of being there. What are we accomplishing and wanting to all be on the same page for, the end goal of it being a better process. So I appreciate you giving me that recommendation.
I have another recommendation that I will give you. And a lot of it has to do with the language that we use. So we'll run these workshops and we teach them about the process and, we give them all the tools. And then if they go back to their organization and they are like, yeah, now let's get everybody together. We get the Post-it notes, we get our Sharpies, we're going to have a big brainstorm session. And everybody rolls their eyes, right? Yeah. Because, another one of these things. So my friend and I developed this tool called Stealth. But it really comes down to the fact that using the creative process, and have you been exposed to the creative problem solving process by any chance?
A little bit. I'm just now kind of getting into that through this semester, but not much.
All right. Well, with this process, there are different stems that you use during different parts of the process, and the way you use your language can invite people to participate with you or not. So you can say to somebody, that idea isn't going to work. Or you can say, what I like about it is, how might we, or what if we could? Or if somebody comes to you with a problem and you can let me understand. What you're asking me is, how might we? And so we basically suggest to people that if they could just use this language, and I'm going to give you the tool in a minute, that people, you don't even tell people, we call it stealth creativity. You don't even tell people that you're using a creative process with them. You just use this language. So what I want to share with you is an app that has tools that you can use which are language tools that help you have a different kind of conversation that will inspire other people to be creative around you.
Awesome. I would definitely be interested in that. That'd be very cool.
But I do also, let me see if this should be it now. See if I can just want to double check that I haven't visited the site in a while. I want to make sure that it's still working. And it is. Okay. So I'm going to put it in the chat. go to this site, and then you'll see there'll be a download link or a QR code, and you're welcome to add that to your phone. It's free. And that might be a tool that can help you right away.
Awesome. I'll definitely be looking into that. Let's see.
What else I can also?
I like their the people that they have on the light bulbs. That's very cool. I like
bulbs,
that.
Yeah. Yes, they're stealthily trying to be creative. So that's one thing. But I guess in terms of when you think about the 4 Ps or the 5 Ps, are you creating an environment where people feel like there's a reason and it's safe to be creative?
So I feel like I've run through all my questions and you've given great answers. My final question is, what is the best way to help companies change their culture towards a creative approach and mindset?
Well, I would say that the best thing you could do perhaps is reflective leadership training for the leaders. And reflective collaborative leadership training. I think so often they'll be like, okay, we're going to do this big creativity initiative. We're going to bring in this innovation initiative. And then they train all the people and they give them a process. But then A, the managers don't use the process. And B, it hasn't been worked into their KPIs or the way they're measured. And it inevitably fails. And I think it's until you can get the leadership of the organization to be vulnerable enough to go through a reflective leadership training where they're really looking at what am I doing to support the people who work for me giving their best, and how can I get out of the way, really, and how can I use the creative toolkit that I'm going to give to them to be more creative so that you can actually walk the talk. And I think the mistake that companies make all the time is they spend a lot of money on an innovation initiative to train people, but they don't use it themselves. And so, the rest of the company starts to just go, why should we try?
Yeah, if they're not using it, why should I? Yeah.
Exactly. And you haven't built it into the reward structure. And part of creativity and innovation is taking risks and failing. And more often people are punished for failing rather than using that as an opportunity to tease out what you can learn. It's very rare that an organization has the value structure to do that. So maybe that's the thing that comes even before, which is what is the value? What are the shared values of the organization? And are they really committed to creating an innovative environment, which means people can be innovative, teams can be innovative, departments can be innovative, and then the company can be innovative.
Awesome. Well, it has been a pleasure to speak with you, Ms. Dugan. This has been a very, I wasn't sure what to expect with this interview, but this has been a great interview on my end. I'm not sure about you. I hope that I asked some good questions that, offered some different thinking from you. And yeah, I appreciate the interview.
I'm happy to do it. I'm just putting a couple of things in the.
Yes. Oh, actually, I spelled that wrong.
Look at. Yeah, those might be some interesting things. And I'm wondering if there's a blog post I can share with you that would really quickly help you. You can just give me a minute. I'll do that, and then we'll. Hold on. News. The website is super jumpy today. I don't know why.
No problem. No, he said that he wanted us to go for 40 minutes, but I feel like I am very introverted and I've asked the questions that I, wanted answered, and you've given great answers. So.
Well, that's fine. But so tell me, maybe you can, since we have a little bit more time, you can tell me a little bit more about your challenge.
So currently right now, I'm an economics advisor at Texas A&M, but it's not necessarily exactly what I wanted to do as far as, serving students. I wanted to get more on the student affairs side where I'm seeing more students like outside of the academic aspect and more just impacting them, like whether it's with academics, of course, with being involved in organizations, just a different way of interacting with students. And that's ultimately what drove me to get a master's in educational psychology rather than the traditional route of student affairs. Is everyone gets a master's in student affairs, and that's what you're going to do. With a educational master's or educational psychology master's, I have that opportunity to, okay, if I want to go into student affairs, I can do that. If I want to, take the psychology route, I can do that. If I want to go more into creativity, I have the opportunity to do that as well. I think, with the route I'm going now, I think I have a lot of opportunities to be a part of different things. And that's kind of what's on the horizon for me as far as like problems. I guess it's a good problem to have is deciding which way to go about it.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm excited for the future of, wherever I end up. So,
do you have like compatriots who can help you?
I have a mentor, and he just got a new job at Rice University. But outside of that, I mean, that's really it. So I don't, and he's a bit older than me, so I don't have. I haven't met anyone that's kind of on that same path that I am.
So there's another. So I'm going to give you one more thing, and that is, I don't have the link, but if you Google first follower.
So you said first hour?
The first follower. It's a video. It's a short video. It's 3 minutes. We use it in all of our leadership training.
Okay.
It's about this shirtless guy who's dancing at a festival and creates a movement. And it's kind of funny. It's really well narrated. And it really talks about the importance of getting a follower. So if you want to really start a movement, to start a change, it talks about how important it is to get people who are supporting you. So maybe that will inspire you and help you with that too.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. You give me, I didn't realize I was going to leave with so many different new resources and things to look into. So I really appreciate that.
Happy to help you. I wish you the best of luck.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
It was the kind of conversation I needed today too, because I'm not having the best day given the results this morning. And so having a conversation with you has brightened my day immensely.
Oh, I appreciate that. Are you speaking about the election?
I am.
I can agree. I can agree with that. Very disheartening.
Very disheartening. So,
yeah. In that aspect, I am worried about my future for sure. So
absolutely. Well, creativity is going to be super important.
Yes.
The stealth language of creativity. I hope it helps you, and I wish you good success.
Same to you. Thank you. I appreciate this conversation.
Okay. All righty. Take it easy.
All right. You too.